One winter evening, on a lonely stretch outside Stonington, a driver sees orange bloom against the ditch. It looks like brush igniting, a small flare licking at dead leaves. He pulls over, grabs a fire extinguisher, and calls 911. A local fire chief arrives almost on top of him. He knows fires. He also knows when a fire is wrong. He aims the extinguisher upward so the powder drifts rather than blasts, because the shape in the flames looks too much like a body to risk destroying whatever is left. The hiss of the extinguisher, the sudden quiet after crackle, the faint chemical fog settling on a shape wrapped in layers of plastic, blankets, sheets, and silvery bands of tape. The chief stops. No one speaks. In the space where brush should be, there is a person. State troopers seal the road. Evidence markers crawl outward from the burn. Cameras flash. Boots crunch old gravel and wet leaves. It is the kind of place where you expect deer, or maybe the white flash of an owl's wings, not a human being laid out like a secret someone tried to erase. This is Fractured Files. We dig into the cases that won't let you sleep. The ones where every fiber, every wound, every decision matters. Tonight, a nameless fire on a country road, a body someone tried to erase, and the trail of tiny mistakes that burned the killer instead. At the medical examiner's office, they unwrap death one layer at a time, hands steady, voices low, eyes seeing what they must. The technicians lift plastic and blankets and tape as if each piece might still speak. Underneath, the body is charred, the front more burned than the back. The nose is gone, the ears are gone, fingers and toes cut away. A section of skin on the lower back is missing, not burned off, but cut out with intention. You do not need to be a detective to understand the message. Someone wanted this person to be nobody. No fingerprints, no ears pierced with a memory, no tattoo that could tie a name to a body. Whoever did this expected the fire to finish the job. But fire is messy. It does not always obey. The back that touched the cold earth is less burned, protected by dirt and shadow. In that preserved strip, the edges of a rectangle tell a story. Skin removed, not destroyed. A tattoo taken, not erased by accident. The pathologist notes details. Height, build, age range. A young, light-skinned black or Latina woman. The teeth are intact, a mistake for anyone trying to hide a name. Teeth are stubborn witnesses. They hold history. Toxicology comes back clean. No alcohol, no drugs. If she was in a bar earlier, she left it sober, metabolizing nothing except fear and oxygen. The neck, 4 sharp injuries, the liver, a stab that bled into the abdomen, the lungs, no soot. She did not breathe fire. She was not alive when the flames rose. Air inside the heart, visible on X-ray. That means air was pulled through a neck wound into the venous system, while her heart still beat. A lethal air embolism. You can die from a breath of the wrong thing. The examiner will not guess. He will list what he can prove. It was a homicide. Connecticut detectives cast their net first across their own state. Any recent missing women matching a young, light-skinned black female with a large lower back tattoo? Nothing. They push the search line outward. 80 miles east on Long Island, a father has filed a missing persons report. His daughter did not turn up for work. Her employer called. She always calls back, but she did not. The family left her a dozen messages. Silence. Her name was Rebecca, 24 years old, a nursing assistant with a bright, impatient smile. She lived at home. That last normal night, she planned to meet her best friend and a new boyfriend at a local bar, say hello, have a few laughs, and be home by 3:30. She texted when she got home safe. Going to bed. See you in the morning. She never woke up. Detectives got dental records from Long Island by hand, not by courier. The comparison was quick. Teeth do not lie. The Jane Doe by the ditch had a name now. The team that has to knock on doors prepares to do the thing every cop dreads. At the Koster home, two detectives stand in a living room they do not belong in and say the words no parent should ever hear. The scream does not belong to this world. It belongs to a world that has broken and no one can fix it. Homicide work is often prosaic, built on lists and calls, and the worst kind of patience. The team builds a timeline. Rebecca's mother left for the night shift. Rebecca went out with her best friend Nicole and her new boyfriend named Dan. She sat for a while alone, then with her people. At the end of the night, the story splits. Dan says they drove her home and walked her to the door around 3:30 a.m. He swears he saw her go inside. He swears he left her safe. Detectives pressed him hard. Boyfriends often sit too close to the flames. He agrees to a polygraph. The lines on the machine do not love his answers, but machines do not testify, and the rest of his story holds. His house is clean. His car is clean. His friends line up their accounts and they match. A polygraph is not a verdict. The detectives widen their circle. Rebecca's phone records land on their desk. 2 calls after the moment Dan says he left her. 4:10 a.m., 15 minutes, and 4:27 a.m., 20 seconds. Same number, a 617 area code, not local, not saved in her contacts. Whoever that was, he speaks to her when the world is asleep, and then he calls for only seconds, just enough to say, "I am here." Cell records are not magic, but they draw lines. That number moves west to east between towers toward Rebecca Street. At 4:27, the brief call pings a tower that tells detectives the caller is at her door or very close to it. They dial the number. No answer. They pull subscriber data. There is no subscriber data. It is a burner. Cheap. Purchased with cash. Activated. Used. Discarded. A ghost with a voice. The bar had cameras, as most places do. Detectives sit with coffee and the hard light of a monitor and watch Rebecca's last ordinary night unfold second by second. She is there, texting. Friends come and go. Then another player enters the frame, older than the crowd by a little. Khakis, a sweater vest that wants to look respectable. Unassuming. He slides into the seat beside her with the oily confidence of someone who has done this before. There is easy conversation. Then both heads dip to their phones. The angle is poor, but the body language is not. He reaches and takes her phone. He taps something in and returns it. This is how numbers get inside lives. Not a stalker in a parking lot. Not a monster in an alley. A man who seems like a neighbor, moving fast enough to get a foothold. When detectives re-interview a young woman named Jennifer who sat nearby that night, she remembers the man now that she has had time to think. He was pushy. He called himself Jay. He took her phone and put his number in it without asking. In her contact list, investigators find a new entry. Jay Brown, linked to a 617 number. The same 617 number that called Rebecca twice after 3:30. But Jay Brown is not a person. He is a mask. While some detectives chase phones and faces, others sit with evidence. The silver duct tape used to bind the body, still tacky in places, is a problem and a promise. Fire can erase prints, but glue can trap them. A latent examiner dusts, lifts, peers, and then squints because something impossible has happened. 2 thumbprints on the adhesive side, left and right, clear enough to measure, clear enough to compare. They run the prints against the state database. The ping comes back to a name that is not Jay. Evans Ganthier, a man with a record that skates around violence. Domestic disputes with a girlfriend. Rumors he photographs women in his garage. Nothing that screams serial killer, but plenty that makes seasoned detectives lean forward in their chairs. They build a photo array. Jennifer points without hesitation. That is the guy who called himself Jay. The alias is stripped. The 617 number and the thumbprints and the bar video now belong to one man. The net tightens. They find the SUV before they find him, parked near a Bronx apartment, tied to his girlfriend. When he climbs in, a surveillance team moves, and within minutes he is in cuffs. He is courteous. He signs consent forms to search his home and his vehicle, the easy compliance of a man who thinks charm can alchemize evidence. The garage smells like paint and cleaning solvents, a roller, a broom, cement cleaner. A section of floor that ought to look like the rest of the floor looks wrong, as if someone scrubbed at night under a single bulb. No obvious pools, no hair, no fibers the naked eye can see. The SUV is different. Dark red stains in places only gravity understands. Down the narrow seam between the front passenger seat and the console, drips have pooled all the way to the floor. You do not get blood there by accident. You get blood there because someone bled in your front seat, and you were in too much of a hurry to clean where your hands could not reach. DNA swabs tell a story that does not care how polite a suspect is. The blood is Rebecca's. In the interview room, the suspect puts on a show men like him have rehearsed in 100 lies. He sighs. He leans forward. He tries honesty because it is more believable when it is almost true. Yes, he met her at the bar. Yes, they exchanged numbers. He called after she got home. They talked. He drove to her house. She came out to his SUV and they took a short drive. She had to work in the morning, so he agreed to take her home, but wanted to stop by his garage to grab something. Then, he says, it got strange. She started foaming at the mouth. Maybe a seizure, maybe some reaction to something he did not know about. She tripped over weights in his garage. She hit her head. Blood everywhere. He panicked. He tried to help. He put her in the back of the SUV to take her to the hospital, but on the way, she stopped breathing. He drove home in shock. He did not know what to do. So he did what all frightened men do in stories. Frightened men make up. He tried to hide his mistake. He admits the unthinkable and hopes it will buy him mercy for the thing he denies. He cut off fingers and toes to stop the police from knowing who she was. He carved that square of skin off her lower back to take the tattoo with him. He wrapped her and loaded her. He drove onto the Port Jefferson ferry, crossed the water into Connecticut because it felt far enough away. He poured gasoline and lit a match. He says he did not kill her. He says he only hid a death that was not his fault. Detectives have heard every version of "I panicked." They do not roll their eyes. They go, "Get the man who can end this story without raising his voice." The medical examiner sits with notes and photos, and the kind of calm that can sound like cruelty until you understand he is a translator for people who cannot speak anymore. He did not find soot in her lungs. That means she was dead before any fire. He did find bleeding around a liver stab wound and blood in the abdomen. That means her heart was pumping when the knife entered. He did find air in the heart. That means a neck wound pulled air into a vein while she was alive, sending a fatal bubble to the motor of her body. He lifts the report like a shield. If she tripped on a weight, where is the skull fracture? Where is the brain bleed? Where is the bruising consistent with a fall that kills? He found none of it. What he found were sharp force injuries meant to end a life, and post-mortem mutilation meant to end a name. The story about a seizure, a fall, and a panicked cleanup does not survive contact with the anatomy. It dissolves. There are still pieces to place. The 4:10 and 4:27 calls. The drive west to east. The timing between bar, home, phone, and death. The ferry. The ditch. The painted concrete in a Bronx garage that will never be as clean as the man who cleaned it wanted. A picture emerges. In the bar, he slipped a number into a phone. After she returned home, he called. He drove to her house at 4:27, the 22nd call at the door, to say, I am outside. She trusted the same way we all trust under streetlights we know, on blocks where we can point to the houses we grew up in. She got into a car with a man who was not a monster in a movie. He was a man in a sweater with a soft voice and a plan. What happened next is not a mystery to the people who watch too many cases like this. He took her to his space, the one he controlled. He attacked her there, the neck, the liver. Too many strikes for an accident. She bled in the front passenger seat while he moved her, then dragged her back out into the night. He painted concrete and hoped paint could cover what he cannot. He wrapped her in tape that held his name like a signature. He ferried her away. He set a fire he thought would erase, but it did not. The trial opened like a wound. Rebecca's mother sits through every day because there is nothing else to do. The defense offers the same story the detectives already heard, polished now, as if polish can make a lie look like the truth. He is so sorry for what happened, he says. He did the wrong thing after, but the death itself was not his fault. The prosecutors do not raise their voices. They point to the plethora of evidence. The jury is not asked to guess. They are asked to listen. They go away for 5.5 hours and return with one word that fits the facts. Guilty. 25 years to life is a number that does not bring anyone back. It is a number that says the road in Stonington will not see this man again. The medical examiner said something simple when he was asked why he does this work. Someone has to speak for the dead. In this case, that meant telling a story the killer could not smother with smoke or smudge with paint. Detectives will tell you that many cases hinge on luck. This one hinged on mistakes. This is the story of a girl who trusted her life to an ordinary night and met a man who was anything but. It is the story of a tape that kept its thumbprints, and a heart that kept air, and a road that kept an awful secret, just long enough for the right people to find it. If this case gripped you, hit subscribe to Fractured Files, tap like, and drop a comment with the next mystery you want us to tackle. Share this episode with a friend who loves meticulous, forensic storytelling.